I think everyone's come in. If people come in, that's absolutely fine. Good afternoon, DC Andrew Davis from the Police Scotland Cybercrime Unit. Not Eamon Keane, my detective inspector, has been held on for operational reasons, and it usually happens on a Friday around about 12 o'clock. And I won't make any further comment. But basically, we've been asked just to come up and give you a kind of 45-minute kind of talk just with regards to some of the things we see in Police Scotland and the Cybercrime Unit. Talk to you with regards to the likes of, you know, things that we see with hacking, some of the trends, etc. Don't need to worry, there isn't any test. If you want to fall asleep, feel free. Okay, and hopefully I'll try my best not tell you not to do anything. Okay, what I'm here to do is just tell you what we've seen. Okay, so who are we? Okay, CSI Cyber. If you manage to make it through 60 minutes of that most appalling American show, then you're doing better than I am. That is not who we are. Okay. This works. We got any sound at all?
I'm pretty sure there's some kind of controls there for a speaker set.
That's all right. We'll carry on. Sorry, you've not got videos. But that,
your laptop's meeting.
is who we are. Okay? That's more like us. Okay? That's pretty much my DI in the middle with the tie on. Guy on the right hand side is the guy you see down there, my colleague Bob. Okay? We're traditional police officers. We're DOs. We deal with murders, assaults. We deal with serious organised crime, etc. So we're trained in the investigative side of it. We're not ethical hackers. We're not trained in, well, some of us aren't trained in computer science. We're not forensic analysts. But what we do have supporting us is we do have these guys. Okay? Effectively, we've got the technological brains of the operation. Okay? And they are massively supporting us. So what do we do just really for the Cybercrime Unit in Police Scotland at the moment? A lot of our work is dealing with forensic and digital examination of devices. If you can imagine any single crime that's committed in 2016, there will be a digital device connected to that crime in one way or another. Okay? That will open up avenues for investigation that has never been opened before. The forensic examination of devices, obviously what we're looking at there, we're looking at a number of different crimes, most notably in the likes of public protection and child exploitation. The indecent images of children remain probably one of the highest priorities of Police Scotland. Certainly the Cybercrime Unit probably takes a good 70% of our work. Okay? But also, we do a lot of critical national infrastructure and counter-terrorism work. We do open source and social media intelligence and investigative support for the likes of a high-profile kidnap, extortion, high-profile murder, etc. We do investigate financial and economic crime online, however that is more towards economic crime, and we're just there to support them. Obviously we deal with, again, serious organised crime, overt investigation, but also what we are able to provide is a covert support to investigations as well. And of course, the more entertaining part of our day is the training, the research and development, getting out, meeting everyone here at Aberdeen University, chatting with colleagues in academia and industry, learning about the new trends, the new techniques and the new technologies coming. In the last 3 years, there's been a massive increase in the amount of work that the police have had to deal with regards to digital crimes, cyber crimes, however you want to describe it. Okay? And the reason is this, the internet of everything. Okay? If you can imagine by 2020, 37 billion new devices already on top of what we already have connected. And I'll guarantee it 36.9 billion of those will have no security whatsoever. Or if they do, it's admin to get into the settings of it. Okay? The possibilities to commit crime online and through technology is going to rapidly increase in the next 5 to 10 years, to the point where it's not going to be cybercrime anymore. It's just going to be known as crime. Okay? From a social aspect of it, this is something that's we're trying to get across, is the fact of just the amount of information that's available online on a daily basis. In 60 seconds, 70 plus domains are being registered new. And you can imagine the challenge that presents for law enforcement when they're trying to track the likes of ransomware demands, malicious software. What else we got here? 98,000 plus tweets. Okay? 98,000 plus tweets in 60 seconds. You can imagine how many complaints come into Police Scotland with regards to someone sent me a tweet and I actually found that quite offensive. How many of those multiplied by 98,000 every second of the day, and how many inquiries are Twitter going to accept from law enforcement across the world? So when it comes to social media, when it comes to new technology, and when it comes to the Internet of Everything, everyone who's using it has a social and moral responsibility to police it themselves, because it can't be done by law enforcement alone. It has to be done by everyone sitting in this room, everyone that uses it. If you use social media, you have a responsibility. You know, Tim Berners-Lee gave us the World Wide Web for free, okay? He gave us that opportunity to use it and share it socially, and we have a responsibility to keep his thoughts. So who are the cyber criminals? I suppose the easy way for me is hands up if you're a hacker in the audience. That's probably most of you, I think, in here. Hands up if you're an ethical hacker. Hands down. If you're planning to commit a crime, please just wait afterwards and I'll take your name and it'll save me a hell of a lot of work. And that'll be absolutely fantastic. Script kiddies, insiders, hacktivists, lone hackers, organised cyber criminals are sorry for this Z and organised, nation-state hackers and terrorist groups. As you go down that list, the money and the backing they have behind them increases. Okay? What we're seeing now, and we're certainly seeing in the last few years, is the use of technology by terrorist groups and nation-state hackers. The Mumbai attack, the terrorist group had their own command and control centre offshore. Okay? The terrorists were inside the Mumbai hotel, going room to room, checking, looking to target victims. When they found a victim, they phoned up their control room and said, I've got so-and-so here, can you check their social media, their Facebook profiles, and anything online, and tell me if they are one of the targets. The command and control centre would go away, come back and give the kill order. Okay? That's how terrorist groups work now. They're using the technology. We're looking at online radicalisation of everyone from children to adults, and a lot of the money that the terrorist organisations can put into their activities can also be funded through the likes of the darknet, through Tor, through ransomware, through malware, okay, and through cryptocurrency. Police Scotland at the moment will put about these kind of key threats of where we're looking at the moment. And we're looking at malware targeting business and individuals users for fraud. Okay? This malware and ransomware is pretty much getting to the point where it's about 50-60% of our work, at least. And effectively what it is targeting small and medium enterprises in Scotland, of which 98% or above, I think it's a bit more business in Scotland are, who don't have the benefit of ICT backing from the likes of RBS or big control rooms, you know. They don't have that infrastructure. Some of the businesses conduct everything they have on one laptop. They might have a backup. More often than not, they don't. So they get a ransom demand, encrypts all their files. They can either lose the business, lose the home, and lose their jobs, or pay the 2.2 bitcoins that are being asked for, which I think is about £650 at the moment. Okay? This is where the terrorists are making the money. This is where the criminals are making the money. There's no need to walk into a bank anymore with a shotgun. Okay? That just takes too much effort. Let's just sit in front of a computer and do it. Cybercrime as a service. Again, we're getting to the stage now, and we are at that stage where it's fairly easy for anyone to go online with very little knowledge, very little capability, buy a rat, buy a stressor service, and launch a denial of service attack against something. Okay? Or launch malware. And the danger there, as well as the fact that it's so easy, is the fact that there's so little knowledge, there's so little consideration being taken about what actions are taken, that there's no idea about the effects behind it. Again, like I said, when we started, cybercrime had 2 definitions. We've now got 4 definitions from the Home Office. 16 years in the police, I'm sick of learning definitions. As far as I'm concerned, it's crime. Okay? Whether or not it's cybercrime, or whether or not it's cyber-enabled or internet-facilitated crime, doesn't really matter. Okay? It is crime, and that's the way we're moving. And also in the last couple of years, we've noticed a lot of reporting. And not just reporting from the individual on the street, not just reporting from businesses who have lost money, but also for the likes of, Kaspersky, who will say that if they are breached, if they are attacked, they will openly tell the police and openly tell everyone about it. Okay? Because we are at that stage where it is a case of you will be breached. If you've got a company, if you've got a system that contains data that is available for selling, you will get breached at some point. But the important part now for companies, how you deal with that breach. Do you report it to the police? Do you report it to GovCert? Do you report it to Cert UK? Do you report it to the Scottish Government? If you've done those things, then as a company or as a business, you're likely to be held less accountable than if you just do nothing and sweep it under the carpet. Okay? Serious organised crime, without a shadow of a doubt, 80% of cyber attacks driven by organised crime rings. Okay? And the main difference and the main problem with the serious organised crime online is that a few years ago, in my previous job, I could get in a car, drive to Glasgow, because that's where it all was. It was never in Dundee. Drive to Glasgow, drive around the city centre and follow pretty much every single member of that serious organised crime gang. To the financer, to the dealer in the street, to the ones, the importers, the exporters. Now, the organised crime group gangs probably haven't even met each other. Probably don't know who their real identities are. But they're still forming collaborations internationally, and not just in the UK. Okay? You're looking at organised crime being set up abroad, and also from the USA, Russia, and Eastern Europe. So this presents a huge problem for law enforcement, because it's basically a case of we know there's a serious organised crime group, we know they're well funded, we know where they are, but we just don't have identities. They work on the dark net, okay? They live in countries where aren't particularly law enforcement friendly in the first place, and other countries who don't particularly like the UK or anything in the West. So this presents a massive problem. Also, the darknet. This is always a bit difficult not for this audience, but maybe for a more police audience that I sometimes, present to, is to basically kind of define the difference between the darknet and the deep web. Okay, the darknet, really for us, and what we're looking at is just a network of trusted computers and trusted criminals. Okay. Just going about the business, but doing it in a way that is stopping police from tracking. Okay? So, I'm sure we've all heard about the news stories for Silk Road, Dread Pirate robots, Evil, I think now as well. Basically, whatever you want, whatever illicit item or illicit trade you wish, you can buy on the darknet. Okay, there is human trafficking going on, the drug dealing, cybercrime as a service is basically available on the darknet, and also child pornography and child abuse is now moving onto the darknet as well, because it's seen as more anonymous, more trusted, and there's a lot of issues with regards to that. The cost in the last few years as well has absolutely crashed. And, you know, how much does it cost to buy a rat? You know, how much does it cost to deploy a denial of service attack for a minute or an hour against a particular IP address? You know, and how much damage are you going to be able to cause that? You know, one of the scams that is coming out at the moment, you'll hear the likes of DD4BC, Armada Collective, who basically say that they can deploy a 2 terabyte denial of service attack against any IP address they so choose. And what they will do is they will send a ransom demand to their particular target and say that if you don't pay us X amount of bitcoins by 24 hours time, we will launch a denial of service attack against your website, against your company, and to prove that we can do it, here we go for an hour. Bang. And the site goes down, and the company goes down for an hour. Company, first thing they do, think, right, how much is this going to cost us if it does go down? If you're like Sir William Hill, day before Grand National, how much is it going to cost us to pay the ransom, or to actually just go for it? Okay? Malware, again, you know, how are we keeping up with malware? Simple, you know, malware every single day, thousands of new pieces of malware coming out, new signatures, you know, new heuristics in which we've got to actually try and fight for. The money mules as well, don't forget, serious organised crime groups like the money, that's what they do it for, so that's where the money mules gets taken in, okay? And we've touched on denial of service attack and botnets, okay? This is, without a shadow of a doubt, again, a huge problem for police, because basically it's a case of denial of service attack has been launched against Abertay University. Where do we start investigating? How do we know where the command and control server is? If there's 100,000 computers or IP addresses coming back, how do we work that one back? How do we know that 100,000 machines, how do we know where are they based? Are they based in Scotland? If they are based in Scotland, and we knock on someone's door and said, by the way, I think you're part of a botnet and you've been compromised by malware, can we have a look at your machine? Hands up if you'd say yes, you can. Exactly. So you see the challenge there we have. If you're doing the cyber conference bingo, then this is a good one to get. The cyber kill chain. Lockheed Martin, very nicely kind of trademarked that and trademarked it. But it's just to give you an idea of the way the criminal or the attacker will look at a target, okay? And it's very similar to how Police Scotland, or how the police would investigate a crime, okay? We take it back, we look at how they first chose the target, we look at what actually happened, how it was delivered, how the exploit happened, how it was installed, where the information went back to, and then what was the objective of it, okay? And that's very much, you know, an inquiry there from start to finish. When it comes to things like spear phishing attacks and other forms of attacks, you know, we go out to a number of different companies, we go out to a number of different areas, and we give advice in relation to emails and malicious attachment on emails. But the point I'm trying to make with the spear phishing is actually, if you look at all the links in that chain, I'm sorry if you can't read that too well, but actually that is very much a case of quite a violation of someone's privacy. You know, you're looking at a hacker targeting the company or social networks. So if you're the CEO of a company and you're having individuals looking at your like your social media profiles, they won't just look at yours, they'll look at your wives, they'll look at your daughters, they'll look at your sons, they'll then look at their friends, and they'll look at everything that they possibly can get a hold of. So basically, they're in your life. They want to know everything about your life. They'll follow people around. Okay? They'll follow people in and out of buildings. They will sit outside people's homes. They'll find out what patterns they are. Okay? If that was any other crime other than spearfishing, if that was the likes of, you know, a stalking crime, or if that was, you know, anything else, you know, people would be on the phone straight away, you know, from that point into the second call. And then creating a fake email, basically impersonate it, send it through. Email passes the spam filters because they're the most up-to-date and patched items in the business, not at all, and not very good. And then the email is opened by the actual recipient. And that is just a lack of knowledge and a lack of awareness. There's too many companies now that are acting on a blame culture, okay? And what's happening is that people are opening emails, they're opening malicious attachments, they're thinking, shouldn't have really done that, tell you what, I'll just shut my computer down, walk away, go and have a coffee. Hour later, they come back, find everything's encrypted. If people put their hands up, said, look, I've done it, I found it, I've made a mistake, you can get it shut down fairly quickly. And again, you know, the likes of the emails are getting good. That was our Ministry of Justice email that was sent through and picked up in a court in the UK. Yes, it was opened. And it was opened by a senior member of the judiciary. Okay? Internet banking, Netflix accounts, etc. Very sophisticated. Everyone likes something for free, including USBs. Okay? One of the most recent cases is our company decided it'd be great to get some USBs to give away as promotional items. They ordered the USBs. They didn't realise that the USBs actually came from China. All 2,000 USBs that they received infected by malware, completely unbeknownst to the company that supplied them. And the crypto ransomware, again, that we're looking at, and how we're actually working out and how to investigate that. What we're looking for when we're doing investigations, and the same with regards to the likes of if you're looking at a company's security and you're looking at how someone has breached the company, then you're looking at how it was installed and how it actually got back out again. How did it make that connection? Okay, that's one of the main points that is being told in security circles at the moment, is that you will be breached, but how do you deal with it once you've been breached? Make sure that your walls are up, make sure the fences are there, make sure that if someone does get in, they can't go out with anything. And if they can get in, they're only allowed a certain amount of information. I won't go too much on remote access Trojans, because I'll obviously speaking to folk who are more educated than I am in that sort of thing. But I'll go on to kind of like the usual hacks. Okay? Now, most of you are probably too young to have kids, young family, but you know, a couple of Christmases ago, a great panic and anger was being shouted through many homes when Xbox Live came out, was hacked, and PlayStation Network, I think it was as well, went down for the whole of Christmas Day. Okay, thanks to our friends at Wizard Squad. Okay, and of course, who was it blamed on? North Koreans. And again, really, when we're starting to look at hacking, we're looking at ethical hacking, we're looking at you know, information and what we do with that information. Then probably one of the most high-profile cases of lately has been Edward Snowden. Now, I'm sure everyone has got their own opinion on Edward Snowden. Okay, it may be positive, it may be negative, it may be straight down the middle. You can't deny that he's put this into the public eye. But what I'd like to stress, and behind this whistleblowing and this release of information and the release of data, is that Yes, he released data and information to make the public aware of what was going on that he felt the public should be made aware of, but there was no consideration to the impact that that was going to have to the people who were also involved, okay? And that could be anything from, you know, covert assets across the world getting, you know, getting somebody pulled out of wherever they were, covert assets, family being targeted, kids being targeted, etc., because there's no check and there's no balance to what information is being released, okay? And there's no consideration about what it is that people are doing. Hands up if you're a member of any of these. Again, it'll make my job easier. Particularly Amara Collective and CD4BC.
Oh.
And 1666. Yeah, absolutely. Hacking groups, again, I don't particularly like the word hackers or hacktivists because, you know, they just, you know, I don't think it's a particularly bad word, but it's been made to have that bad connotation behind it, which is completely wrong as far as I'm concerned. A lot of the hacking groups, they do our job for us because they tend to fall out with each other, they tend to start DDoSing each other, they start to dox each other. So effectively, if we ever want to know about a hacking group, we tend to go into Pastebin, have a look and see who's doxed each other. Okay? So if you're thinking of being a member of a hacking group, it's a waste of time, someone will shock you in at some point. So. Again, the talk. Obviously massive in the news at the beginning of the year, but not particularly well handled by the CEO in relation to what had happened, why it happened, and no, everything's okay, it's not a problem. But behind that is the data, behind that is the information that was actually obtained, it was the information that was actually released. Now that, and again, that information that's been released has resulted in hundreds of thousands of phone calls, hundreds of thousands of emails, harassing phone calls quite often, quite vicious, quite quite nasty, to the likes of your mother, your gran, okay? People who just don't really have a clue about what it is and what information they're putting out. But all of a sudden, their information that they provided to TalkTalk is available to the highest bidder as many times as over as possible, and it's going to take years for them to recover from a breach that wasn't their fault. And it's going to take them years to recover from the release of information that seems particularly innocuous at the time to the hackers and those who released, but it's going to have a massive impact to them personally. Ashley Madison, they did well out of this hack actually. Their popularity rose after this because everyone found out the site existed. No one knew about it in Europe. Again, you know, this was another, right, we've hacked into your system, we've stolen all your personal identifiable information. If you do not pay us, we will release this information. Okay. That information was released. That information has resulted in the death of 3 people already through suicide. Untold marriages have broken up, and a massive impact on people. Okay, and again, that's just one choice that someone made to decide, you know what, I can go to the site, I can take the information out and I can release it for my own gain. But I don't really care what happens with any of that information, and I don't really care what you do with it. Okay. Again, anti-ISIS hackers claim responsible for BBC cyber attack to took down BBC webpage. Not a bad thing, to be honest with you, isn't the best. But again, this is where we're looking again, we're looking at cyber terrorism, we're looking at hitting critical national infrastructure, okay? This is the BBC webpage. If you can imagine what the future is going to be when it comes to the likes of, we have a smart home and we have smart heaters, and those smart heaters aren't particularly well secured. Now what's going to happen if someone hacks into a smart heater? They might heat your room up by a couple of degrees. No big hassle. Okay? They hack into 1 million devices at once, put it up 5 degrees. You can imagine the drain on resources in the UK have a massive effect on it. Okay? And this is why we now have newer legislation coming through. We have new sentencing rules in relation to if you commit an offence which has a detrimental effect to national security, okay, that's life imprisonment. Okay. Used to be, it's 10 years, it was not national security. That gives you an idea. Just very quickly, a couple of operations that we've kind of looked at. I'm not going to go into too much detail because a lot of these are still ongoing. Operation Mouse. This was a denial of service attack on Police Scotland website. Yes, we are not immune. And this is currently being reported to a fiscal. We actually traced someone for this denial of service attack. And they're currently now looking at a number of other inquiries in relation to other UK law enforcement agencies and internationally as well. Anyone know this guy? Anyone heard about this guy? Tall Laurie Love. Yeah. He tends to get dragged out anytime there's a hack or anything like that. Usually I drag him out, BBC hack, drag him out for some information. I do have a video of him, but that probably won't play, so I'll just carry on. But basically, Laurie Love, on BBC Panorama at the start of the year, his excuse for people hacking into the likes of the US Army and the FBI is the fact that they're big companies, they're big organisations, they should be secure. You know, if they're not secure, then it's not the guy sitting in his dressing gown in his bedroom that's the problem, it's the companies. It's like, well, I'd like to see you use that in defence when you get extradited over to the US next year. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's the same as saying, well, you know, Bob left his front door open, so he's worse than the person that decided to go in and nick all his stuff. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But that's the kind of level that you're thinking at. Black shades, all the hackers, remote access tool creators in the room will know about black shades. Okay, that was another operation that was done. It was under Operation Dermot. It was more led by the National Crime Agency. And basically what that one was just more looking at users of that tool, basically who purchased that tool, who purchased that online, and then cease and desist letters were sent. Okay, basically, we know you have that malware. The only reason you've got that malware will be for nefarious reasons. If you couldn't come up with a reason why you didn't have that malware for good reason, then it was basically a case of, look, we know you've got it, just stop it, okay? That was some of the resultant Twitter messages in relation to some of the cease desist letters that came out, okay? And you can see from a lot of that, to be honest with you, I think a few of them just didn't know what they were downloading. They didn't know it was a problem, they didn't know it was going to cause any hassle, but that's where we came from. And it can all have, as I said, it can all have massive side effects, not just the likes of you end up with a whole load of phone calls that you don't want from people from other countries basically trying to sell you stuff or telling them from Talk, or I'm from Microsoft and there's a problem with your computer. Can I log into your computer and please switch the screen off whilst I'm doing it? Okay, it ends up in a lot of harm to a lot of families. And then again, like I say, it's a worldwide problem, and a worldwide problem for law enforcement as well, because you see the number of attacks on the UK, you see where they're all coming from, how we're going to start investigating, how we're going to look at that. You'll have all heard the term black hat, or black hat, white hat, and grey hat as well. Okay, there's Facebook offering you a nice Visa debit card if you're being a white hat. Okay, what I'd like to kind of say and what I'd like to bring from what I'm saying today is think about the consequences of your actions and think about what it is you're actually physically doing. You know, do you have authority to do what it is you're doing? If you did have authority to do what you're doing, how far would that authority extend? You know, if a company asks you to go and do some testing on their sites, or for you to go and say, right, well, how easy it is to breach. They want to know how easy it is to breach. They don't want to know if you can go in, take as much data as you can out of it, and then present it to them. There are boundaries and there's limits to it. And you need to understand those limits and boundaries. A good website to have a look at, if you haven't already, ISC Squared. You can join up ISC Squared, and there's lots of certifications, the likes of CISP and CISM, in relation to the ethical hacking, penetration tests and things like that. And they have a code of ethics, which is well worth having a look at, this code of ethics. And it's the protecting society and the common good and the public interest and confidence and the infrastructure that they're using. And it's the acting honourably, honestly, justifiably, responsibly and legally. And to be honest with you, the honourably is the part for me. What are you doing? What are you trying to do online? What are you using your skills for? And advance and protect the profession. Okay? Absolutely. Because I'll guarantee you that the cyber criminals and the SOCGs, they don't care about the next discovery. They care about how they're going to use the next discovery and how they're going to make money out of the next discovery, but that will be on the back of all your work here. So all the work that you've put in to finding out new ways of engaging technologically, they'll make the money off that. So really, just to kind of sum up, is just have a look at what you're doing, all right? Jake Davis on the left, the guy who thinks he's from the Matrix. There was a plane that flew over from America with 2 FBI agents in it. Well, I think there was 6. Landed in the Shetlands, scooped them out of the Shetlands and flew them straight back again. Okay? And obviously, the other 2 guys, Jason Cleary, I think, I can't remember the name of the other guy. And again, basically, great skills, great talents, but, they didn't have anything to direct it to, and they didn't do it in the right way. Thankfully, thank goodness, and it's about time, okay, we actually have people, the skills and talent are actually using it the way it should be used, okay? Yeah, sorry to Lisa, I was told to put that one in. So you can blame my DI, but SBRC, okay, great organisation. Also, I don't know if you know Pablo and Greg, who are penetration testers. I'm allowed to use that word. But the SBRC, absolutely fantastic skill set, okay, and viable also to the police, because I could go to them and basically say, what do you think? What do you think happened here? All right, and this is where we're looking for get the skills from, and certainly in our forensic side as well. Because basically, as I say, in this room, I've got no doubt at all, you'll be making a hell of a lot more money than I will in about 5 years' time, if not you already are. Okay? And there is a huge talent out there, and I don't want it to be wasted on just stupid decisions. Okay? The future, well, for us, it's ever-changing, the contact lens, the iOS, the smart car, the smart meters, the smart homes, the smart watch, the smart doll, the smart dog, anything with an eye in front of it, okay, we're going to have to investigate. We're going to have to look at fridges, kettles, lamps, okay. That's where the future is going for Police Scotland. So thank you very much. I hope I didn't bore you too much and you didn't fall too asleep there. I'm happy to take any questions if there